Hello everybody, this is Professor Charlie Chi. This is Technical Business English 201. Now basically the title of course is Proposal and How to Write a Letter in Workplace, which is same meaning as Technical Communication in Workplace. In the first chapter, basically, these are the objectives that we are trying to achieve in chapter 1. First, we're going to define basically what is technical communication. Then we will learn basically cultures in different organizations, and we'll also talk about global workplace and some of the ethics in workplace. And also the textbook actually go through each chapter with the real case based on fictitious company name called M Global Company. Now before I continue actually more depth into my lecture, I'd like to actually share with you two video in YouTube. So let me see, let me try to go into the YouTube video. Okay, let's watch the first one.
Phone calls to conversations, presentations to blogs, and texts to tweets. Communication is how we send and receive messages, and those messages surround us. They're in our words, our tone of voice, in our expressions, in our inboxes and our mailboxes, in a conversation with coworkers, or the important meeting with our boss. It's the tilt of a head or the roll of an eye. Communication allows us to share our thoughts, to learn and exchange ideas, to serve customers and clients. With so many messages to sift through, we owe it to ourselves and to others to be the best communicators we can. Recent surveys, the National Association of Colleges and Employers found that the ability to communicate effectively ranked as the most important skill for new hires. The ability to speak and write well and to listen effectively is your key to career success.
So whether you're talking, tweeting, texting, emailing, or simply listening to what someone else has to say, you are using a set of skills that is highly valued in the working world.
In this video, we will talk about the skills needed to communicate effectively in the workplace by focusing on the 4 primary ways we communicate. Verbally, through our speech. Non-verbally, through our facial expressions and body language. By listening to the messages of others. And finally, through our writing.
We will show you examples of communication skills both effective and not so effective, and provide you with strategies you can use to improve your own skills. Feel free to pause this video at any time to jot down notes, answer questions, or discuss what you've seen. When you're finished, you will know how better communication can help you achieve success.
Okay, this video was basically trying to introduce what is the technical communication. Basically, video briefly explained technical communication is basically every communication that we do in the workplace. It begins with simply having a meeting with your co-workers, writing a proposal, writing a memo, even creating website for the company, creating report, marketing report, or some projection for next years. So basically, telecommunication involves basically every either written or unwritten communication we do in the workplace. Now we're going to actually try to define more in technical terms what is technical communication. And this second video was basically recorded by one of the professor in other school that which I found actually in YouTube. So actually, let's watch this YouTube and trying to get a little more in detail what it means by technical communication. And as you can see, it says defining technical communication. Okay, let me enlarge this screen and let's share this YouTube video together. Might have to actually adjust the volume because volume might be a little high. Let me see if I can decrease here.
Since it is the cornerstone of the course, which is technical report writing. And one of the things that I find is that students often get tripped up by the title. When we think of the word technical, we often associate it with the idea that it involves technology. And that's really not what we're going after here. So I want to walk you through what we're going to be dealing with this semester and show you some examples to help you contextualize it for yourself. So the first place I went for a really good definition of the course was your textbook, which is Technical Communication Fundamentals. And the textbook defines technical communication as a generic term for everything you might possibly write or talk about in your jobs. And while that's a really great place to start, it's still, quite frankly, very generic, and it doesn't help me contextualize what this term means. So I went to the experts. And that's the Society for Technical Communication, and that's the professional organization for people who do this every day, individuals in the field. And their definition, while very helpful and far more specific, still gets a little complicated for someone who's unfamiliar with the industry. And they talk about it in terms of being a broad field, something that includes communication that exhibits one or more of these characteristics that I've outlined here in the PowerPoint slide for you. I think what I really want you to pay attention to is the first bullet point that says communicating about technical or specialized topics, because that's really what you are going to be doing in this course as well as in your respective industries. Of course, there are elements of using technology. By and large, you're going to rely on things like Microsoft Word or Excel to help you build and communicate the ideas that you're going to be representing in your industries. And this last bullet does come into play in a lot of ways, this notion of you're going to be producing some form of instructions about how to do something. However, this, I think, from the Institute of Scientific and Technical Communicators, is the best definition that I've found so far. And they lead in by talking about how all of us, regardless of who we are in the Western world, we really do deal with this huge host of complex systems, both in our homes as well as in our workplaces. And if you think about it in very simplistic terms, everything from the instruction manuals that come in the box for the bookcase that maybe you buy, to our car manuals or online tutorials that we may take on the internet to show us how to do something. All of these things are part of that bigger global documentation that falls under the umbrella of technical communication. For those of you who want to eventually be working in an industry that really relies on it, the idea that the need for professional communicators is really big right now is really welcome news. What I've bolded and underlined here for you is what I think is the most important ingredient of this definition, that communication is essential for the success and quality of any product, service, or business. And this is really where I want you to pay attention. It involves scientific or technical knowledge of the subject, comprehension of how it can be used safely and efficiently, and an understanding of how we communicate. For those of you in the course, what this means is simple. It doesn't matter if you are going to be working in the HVAC field or some medical field or an engineer or any of the other different professions that you all are seeking out. What you are going to be expected to do once you graduate, get your degree or certifications, and start acquiring your experience in your industries, that you're going to be taking on the role of expert in that knowledge. And it's that specified knowledge that becomes so critical to how you will perform in the workforce, as well as, of course, in this class. At this stage in your careers, we've all, through our K through 12 education, as well as now our college education, myself included, been informed in the role of academic writer and the expectations of being an academic writer. So when you sit down for your composition course and you are writing a 2-page opinion paper, the point of writing that paper at its most basic is for you, the author, to show your teacher that you have acquired the knowledge of the conventions of academic writing, and you understand your topic enough that you can justify receiving a good grade. I mean, that's at the bare bones, that's exactly what you're doing. As the author of an academic paper, you really don't know what your audience knows about your topic. And in this case, it's your teacher, and he or she may have a greater understanding of what it is that you're writing about than you do. You really don't have that knowledge in front of you. You don't have that insight into your audience, but it's safe to assume that more often than not, your teacher probably does have a greater understanding than you do. You learn things like immovable elements in academic writing. You talk about topic sentences and thesis statements, and you start with an introductory paragraph, and you continue that same formula throughout your paper. You have your transitional phrases until you reach your conclusion paragraph, and that's how an academic paper is typically laid out. And lastly, you very infrequently use graphics or visual aids. They're just not really a part of the academic writing conventions that we've learned as we've moved forward. In technical writing, these elements look a little different. I don't want you to be confused and to assume that that means the things that you learned in those courses are irrelevant, because they are incredible skill sets. Those are the things, the foundational knowledge that you need to go into technical writing. But the purpose of these types of documents is to get something done, either to argue in favor of an increased budget or a budget at all for certain things, or you're teaching a colleague or a peer how to do something, maybe in the IT field, or you're working with someone else, like your customer, your clients, your board of directors. And the point of the documents that you're building is to result in an action, something being done. As the author, you are now the expert, whatever it is in the content of that paper. So think about it in these terms. Maybe you're going into computer science and you want to work in the IT field, and one of the things you are tasked with by your supervisor is to investigate what would be the best option in terms of new computers for your entire office. Now, your supervisor is putting you in the position to go out and do the research, to read the consumer reviews, and to put together a document that shows how much each of these things is going to cost. You take on that expert role because you're the one who's acquired that knowledge, and it's your job to educate your superior in an effort to possibly justify new computer systems. This is where my students always seem to be happy when they get to this statement. In technical writing, we work really hard to be clear and concise, or in other terms, just short and sweet. In an academic paper, I remember being an undergraduate, and the longer the word, the more space on the page kind of mentality was something that I adopted. In the professional workforce, everyone's busy, including you. And so getting to the point, putting out the information you need your reader to have, and going on to the next task is really integral to ensuring that the workflow continues. You want to make sure you give all the information you need to give, but at the same time, you don't want to get tripped up on kind of that fluffiness that sometimes, I will admit, I have fallen into doing in my academic writing. And in technical writing, we often rely on graphics and visual aids to support whatever it is that we're saying. Going back to the example I used in the IT field, you can write paragraph after paragraph, including numbers and memory of each computer system and how often they break down, but realistically building a very simple chart that your reader can flip to and look at and say, okay, computer A is going to cost us this, and computer B is going to cost us this, and computer C. That becomes far more easy to digest for your reader, and it becomes a really good resource. I bet that for a lot of you, this type of terminology becomes very comfortable because you're used to it. And this is an example of a statement using the conventions of academic writing. So here we talk about things like, in order to successfully compete in the ever-shrinking global construction marketplace, designers and architects must make conferring with the client and meeting his or her needs the single most important aspect of the proposal process. I am very comfortable with that statement because that's how I was trained to write as an academic. But in the technical world, what you might find is that the same statement would be reworded to look something like this. If we want to succeed in the global construction marketplace, we must take the time to listen to our clients and put their needs first. And not only is it shorter in length, right, but we don't really have to wade through some of the language to discern what it is we're really talking about in the statement. And the one thing that I want my students to really pay attention to is the use of the pronoun we. As the author in the field, you are included in your company, in your department, even in your industry, contingent upon the situation you're writing for. So the use of we becomes very, very just comfortable. It's also used frequently. What I hope that you get from this kind of introductory element to the course and the idea of technical communication, and in particular technical writing, is that we're going to be doing a wide expanse of assignments and writing exercises throughout the course of the.
Okay, let me actually go back to my own PowerPoint. Okay, basically, I wanted to share with you two videos to give you some idea what is technical communication. And basically, as we have watched, technical communication basically involves every verbal or written communication in the workplace. And you can think of proposal, memo, even sending out the email. And nowadays, all these telecommunication industries so advanced. We basically submit all the proposals, even any kind of legal paper through basically internet, or sometimes we use basically Skype, and we do the web conferencing together. But all these, every communication that we do in the workplace is telecommunication, technical communication. Okay, so let's see, let's go through our actually chapter 1 together. We actually, in the previous YouTube video, it went through basically what is the difference between academic writing and basically the communication in workplace. Basically in the academic writing, the purpose of the academic writing is basically anything you write in the school, in the university, and submit to your professor. So normally, purpose would be to demonstrate your knowledge of the topic, and most of the time, your knowledge is less than your teacher. Your teacher who already got either PhD or master degree knows more than you, so you are actually writing something for their review and give you comment. And also here, the audience will be teacher. And also, basically, in the academic writing, basically criteria for evaluation will be how much you know, depth of your knowledge, logic, clarity, unity, and some grammar. And we don't really use that much graphic, actually, graph or statistical information in our academic writing, unless it is basically term paper or capstone paper we submit at the end of the quarter or semester. Now let's go to, actually we are still in academic writing. Is that in academic writing involve essay, exam, and paper, which you probably are used to in your in school environment. Now we are going to technical communication. Features of technical communication. Purpose is to accomplish a task. Accomplish a task. Get something done in your work. Now, compared to academic writing, basically technical communication, your knowledge of the topic is greater than reader. You know more than other people, and you are trying to convey your message to other people. An audience will be a variety of people with differing technical background. You may actually write a memo to your basically employee, or you may write some kind of memo to your boss, your manager. So basically, it involves all kind of communication from the bottom to the top. Okay, and in technical communication, the criteria for evaluation will be clearly organized idea that meet the needs of busy readers. In the actually company, everybody is busy. So really they don't have time to basically read paper like your term paper, which might be more than 10 pages. Shorter, clear, concise memo is the best in the working environment. And to do so, sometimes statistical and graphic, pictures, any kind of statistical data, it helps for reader to understand fast and easy. And it is used to explain conditions and present alternative course of action. Okay, the different type of technical communication involve a lot of correspondence, which will be memo and letters, sometimes short report, long report, proposals, website, and it can be basically a lot more than those things that we listed in this PowerPoint. Let's compare technical communication and academic writing side to side. In technical communication, it plays a practical role in the job. But in writing, the purpose is to display your knowledge. In the technical communication is completed by an informed writer to an uninformed reader. So if you're a writer, you are the one informed writer, and you are trying to convey your knowledge or message to uninformed reader. However, in academic writing, basically student is writing some paper to teacher for their opinion or advice. Basically, in the workplace, your writing will be read by many readers. However, in the academic writing, your aim is to satisfy one person, who is your teacher or professor. Okay, let's talk about defining technical communication. In any type of writing, we always involve planning, drafting, and revising. That's normal, basically, procedure of writing. In the basically planning stage, we try to brainstorm everything, and we try to write the first draft. Then we keep on revising it until we write better. That's how we also learn to write academic writing. In technical communication, we don't really have that much time. We got to basically write a letter, memo fast. To do so, first, you have to determine purpose. Why are you writing it? What message do you want to convey to your reader? Next is analyze your readers. What are they expecting? If you are writing a report to your manager or your boss or president, you have to know what your president or manager is expecting from you, and what kind of a knowledge, what kind of suggestion, what kind of basically projection that you are working on. Then after you define your purpose and analyzing your reader, you need to collect all the information and all the data. It can be data from accounting department, or if you are trying to come up with some ideas, you probably do some research in the website, Googling it, or you can do a lot more exercise, the research in the computer. So collecting all the information and completing it online, and you basically also try to gather some data, some pictures, some graphics. Then once you gather all the information, you want to write your initial draft, first time draft. Then once you write your draft, then basically third phase will be revising it. You want to review your layout and graphic. You want to edit for mechanics, edit for grammar, edit the style, and you basically also adjust your content. So in every writing, basically it goes through planning, drafting, revising. However, in technical communication, we first define what are we trying to write. Second, who am I writing to, analyzing your reader. Then you collect all the data or the information, write a first draft, keep on revising it until you feel good, until you feel like this is good enough to send to manager or president or even any employee lower than your rank. Now, in working in actually organization, company, we need to understand culture of that organization. Some organization basically appreciate or respect your very liberal idea, but some organization is very conservative and they don't really appreciate new idea, but stick to their company's very strict rules and strict operation guidelines. So we have to understand, before we write, we need to understand their culture, organization's culture, and you have to understand business climate. Let's say if you are working in the bank or in the government, it is very conservative environment. And basically, everybody wear the suit and everybody try to basically speak very professionally. But if you're an engineer, let's say programmer working for, let's say, Amazon.com or let's say Microsoft or Apple, people really don't use the suit. People just wear the t-shirts. And rather than appreciating some form or suggestion, they like ideas. They don't care how well you dress or how elegantly you speak. They don't appreciate that. What they appreciate is coming up with a new idea, new program, more casual conversation, more casual discussion. So you have to, before you communicate with other people, you have to understand their culture and business climate first. Okay, a specified element of company's culture. Normally it is good to understand their history, company history, what kind of business are they in, and what is their management style. Are they really aggressive? Are they really conservative? Are they really appreciating new idea? Or they just want people to stick to their rule? So before you try to write anything, you want to understand the organization culture and their business climate. Okay, so basically under the organization history, basically you might want to consider accumulated tradition to which most employees are accustomed to. And also, other hand, consider the entrepreneur spirit of a listening established form. Now this entrepreneur spirit of listening established form is they just began the new company and they are really aggressive and getting going. However, when you are working for some very traditional company, then basically they want you to stick to their regulation, their guideline. Okay, how about the type of business? Some business can be, their culture can be flexible, non-traditional, innovative, sometimes chaotic. Now, I think maybe most of these business will be mostly nowadays new technology industry, Google, Amazon.com, Apple, Microsoft. How about this one? Another business culture might include tradition, formality, and custom. These will be banks, governments, and mostly law offices, sort of things. And also management style. Some companies operate according to very rigid hierarchy with all decisions coming from the top. We call that pyramid system. Everything is decided from the top, spreading down to lower management. Other companies basically involve a wide range of employees in decision-making process. We call this horizontal, basically, level management. Basically, everybody, rather than in the meeting, people like to talk more casually and basically just freely doing conversation in the meeting. Talk about the business climate. Basically, we can talk about are they in this very competitive industry? Who are the investors? What is the investor's interest? And are they basically, do they need to follow some type of a regulation and overall health of economy? And basically, in the business, under the business climate, maybe to improve the quality, basically, such as, let's say, Amazon.com, or even for some of these online, basically, merchandising company, they respond quickly to customer needs, and they encourage employee interest in success of organization. And some company basically also stress on improved efficiency, like just-in-time delivery will be most of the online shopping. They really concern whether the customer get their merchandise in time. And also they like to improve communication technology with their customer. If the customer make one suggestion, or if the customer make any complaint, or if the customer give any opinion that product is not functioning or what they expected, these companies react very fast, and they try to do everything to not to lose that customer. And their theory is basically when they lose one client, that's the same effort as to bring in 10 new clients. And most of basically this online shopping industry, they like to work very responsibly and like to satisfy every suggestion and every need excuse me, of their customer. Okay. Now, because of the internet and all these computer actually development, we are in actually global business climate. The company in U.S., even Coca-Cola is doing business in all over the world. Like same for Starbucks. Also even have a Starbucks in China, Japan, Korea. Nowadays, world is becoming, we hear the same concept become smaller, and we have become neighbor. With all these technology, information technology, basically every whole world is actually sharing the information and news. So we have to consider global business climate. And in the global business climate, many company actually they purchase their goods or they subcontract out their service for outside company. Most of the basically apparel or clothes or any kind of a lot of merchandise used to be manufactured in China and shipped to America. Now China labor is going up, so Americans are actually going to Philippines or other third world country again. So basically, most of companies are not manufacturing on the USA and selling to basically in the United States, but they manufacture in Philippines, manufacture in China, sell to the customers in the US, sell to customers in Europe. And in the offshoring, moving some of the companies' operation to other countries, sometimes because of tax benefit, sometimes because of the lower labor. Actually, companies rather like to manufacture in China or India. So all these are called offshoring. And we are doing business all over the world, which is global business climate. Okay. So basically, we need to have a strategies for understanding culture and strategies for communicating internationally. As far as strategies for understanding culture, we need to study common features and distinctive differences of the culture. Simply saying, we have to understand the culture, we have to understand different people, different customs. And we have to understand what people do and why they do it. And we need to also seek to comprehend cultures with which we are dealing before we operate within them. And we need to also enter into intercultural experiences with an open mind, because our workplace is becoming global. The world is like